The Billionaire's Father, A Heartbreaking Family Story by Selene Ardent. Chapter 4. The Debt of Giants. The Miller apartment was quieter than usual the following week. Emily tiptoed around with her thoughts, still processing the revelations about her father. David, though shaken, clung stubbornly to his cynicism, doubling down on late nights and excuses. Robert went about his days as though nothing had changed, fixing a leaky faucet for a neighbor, hauling supplies for a contractor, always returning home with the same weary smile. But the air in the household was heavy, charged with unspoken questions. It was late on a Friday evening when a knock sounded at the door. Robert, expecting perhaps a neighbor, opened it and froze. Standing there was none other than Mr. Hayes, impeccably dressed as always, but this time accompanied by two younger associates. Behind them, a sleek black car idled at the curb. "Robert," Hayes said warmly, his voice carrying authority that filled the small hallway. "I hope you'll forgive me for dropping by unannounced, but I couldn't let things stand as they are." Robert's face hardened slightly. "You shouldn't have come." But Hayes smiled knowingly. "On the contrary, I should have come a long time ago." He glanced past Robert into the apartment. "May I?" Robert hesitated, then stepped aside. Emily and David, who had been in the living room, leapt to their feet, stunned. "Dad, that's—" David stammered. "Yes," Hayes interrupted smoothly. "Richard Hayes, CEO of Hayes International. But tonight, I'm here not as a businessman, but as a man who owes your father a debt that can never be repaid." He turned toward Robert with genuine respect. "I told you before, my friend, I haven't forgotten. And neither has this city, even if it pretends to." Robert exhaled slowly. "Richard," but Hayes pressed forward. "No more hiding. Your children deserve to know who you are." He turned toward Emily and David, his gaze piercing. "Do you realize the kind of man your father is? Decades ago, when the Riverside fire raged out of control, when others hesitated, your father charged into the flames, not once, not twice, but over and over, pulling people out, children, mothers, strangers, including me. He saved my life. If he hadn't dragged me from that inferno, Hayes International would not exist. Thousands of families who rely on my company would have no livelihood, and I, personally, would not be standing here." Emily's eyes brimmed with tears. David swallowed hard, his usual bravado faltering. Hayes stepped closer, his voice rich with conviction. "Your father was more than a firefighter that night. He was a giant, and giants rarely get the peace they deserve because the world forgets too quickly. But not me." Robert shifted uncomfortably. "That's enough, Richard. They don't need—" "Yes, they do," Hayes interrupted firmly, "because I see two young people here, adrift, lost. And I won't stand by while the children of the man who saved my life throw away theirs." He looked directly at David. "You, young man, you carry yourself with pride, but pride without direction is just arrogance. You need discipline." David bristled, but Hayes didn't flinch. Then Hayes turned to Emily. "And you're bright, diligent, but weighed down by bitterness. You need opportunity, guidance, the kind your father once gave me, though he doesn't realize it." He straightened. "So here is my offer. Come work at my company. Both of you. I'll place you where you'll be tested, where you'll either rise or break. Not because of charity, but because I owe your father this much. The rest will depend on you." David's mouth opened and closed, words failing him for once. Emily's heart pounded. This was the chance she'd dreamed of, yet it came wrapped in a truth she was only beginning to grasp. Robert frowned. "Richard, they're not ready." "Then we'll make them ready," Hayes replied. "Do you think I became who I am by being ready? Number. I was forged in fire, just like you. Now it's time they face their own flames," Emily whispered, almost afraid of her own hope. "Dad, is this real?" Robert's gaze softened. "It's real. But it's not easy," David finally exploded. Wait. You expect me to just, what? Work for you? In some suit and tie job? No thanks. I'm not cut out for that." Hayes arched an eyebrow. "Then you'll never know what you're capable of. And you'll keep blaming your father for your own failures. Is that the kind of man you want to be?" David flushed, anger and shame battling on his face. Emily, however, stepped forward. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "I'll do it. If this is the chance to prove myself, I'll take it." Hayes smiled, nodding approvingly. "Good. You have your father's courage." Robert closed his eyes briefly, torn between fear and pride. Hayes turned to David once more. "And you?" David muttered. "I'll think about it." "Do more than think," Hayes replied. "Opportunities like this don't wait." He handed each of them a card. "Report to my office Monday morning. We'll see what you're made of." When Hayes left, the apartment felt like it had shifted on its foundations. Emily clutched the card as if it were a lifeline. "Dad, why didn't you ever tell us about any of this?" Robert sat heavily, his face shadowed. "Because I wanted you to live your lives without the weight of mine. But maybe that was a mistake." David paced furiously. "This doesn't make sense. Why would a billionaire care about us? Why now?" Robert looked at him quietly. "Because, David, debts of the heart are never forgotten." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She stared at the business card, the name embossed in gold letters, Hayes International. She thought of all the doors it could open, all the bitterness it might erase. In the next room, David lay awake too, glaring at the ceiling. Hayes's words echoed in his mind. "Pride without direction is just arrogance." He hated how much it stung. And in his room, Robert sat alone, gazing out at the city lights. He thought of the flames that had consumed his past, and of the fire that now burned in his children's futures. He prayed it would forge them into something greater, without consuming them, as it had consumed him.